welcome to Focus on B, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on, and this is Top Gear Rally 2. You might remember when I did Top Gear Rally 1, and I really like that game. I think not only does it have some absolutely phenomenal music for the kind of game that it is, but it's actually a really fun arcade sim-like arcade racer with a little teeny bit of sim in there. Yeah, so it's an arcade racer, but it also has these very sophisticated physics for the time, especially with the 4-point suspension system and all that. It's really cool, and Boss Game Studios really stretched their legs with their future games as well, stuff like World Driver Championship. Oh, and Stunt Racer. What was it? Stunt Racer 64? Absolutely fantastic game, totally overlooked. But anyway, this is actually the sequel that wasn't developed by them. This was made by Sapphire, who, for some reason they're like a name that's kind of familiar to me, but I don't really know exactly what they've done. But regardless of that though, what do I think of the sequel? You know, it's so weird, right? Because on one hand, right, it makes a lot of improvements. On the other hand, it also takes a couple steps back. Well, one of the biggest steps back that I think you all need to witness for yourself, you probably saw this coming, is the soundtrack. Let me just prepare for your ears to be blessed. Okay, that actually wasn't the worst example that I could have played, but trust me, this game's soundtrack can be pretty fucking abysmal. Just look it up, right? The freaking bass parts and the super shitty sounding guitar parts and the ridiculous vocals. It's not the worst music I've heard in my life, but my god, when you compare it to the original, look how they massacred my boy, you know what I mean? But, okay, let's stop bitching about that, something that only I really care about. What about the actual game? And holy shit, this is loud. Let me fucking turn this down. Not just for the sake of my speakers, but for the sake of the recording. I mean, I saw the freaking meters going off. But anyway, what was I talking about? I completely fucking missed this. Bro, why did I do that? And why is the reset button the one that you think would be the downshift button? What do I think about this game as a whole? It's really fun. Actually, this game is really fun. It has this much more arcadey handling style, but as you can tell, you could probably see at the bottom of my screen, there's a lot of detailed damage going on. I don't actually get this. This is something that I wish they could have maybe sent to the background, like they weren't quite as focused on, because, I mean, for one, every 2 seconds your fucking tires just explode, right? Which actually isn't the biggest problem in the world, because believe it or not, this game lets you do something fucking hilarious. There. It just... look at that, it makes me laugh every time. It picks up your car, and it just takes out the wheel, and just the stupidest fucking animation. And it works though, I mean, like, yeah, you can just change tires on the fly. And it's just a small time penalty. And not even like a meta time penalty where like your actual time is the same and then you get a second added on at the end. No, like literally they just mean it'll take a little bit of time to fix on the track, but then you can just keep going with no penalty necessarily. And yes, that slows you down a bit, but it's not the kind of slowdown that I think it would be. And honestly, the AI really isn't too difficult. Another thing about this game, actually, it's the performance and visuals. Obviously, being a late N64 game, it's a pretty significant step up visually from the first game, which already looked pretty good. It had some nice colors. But this game not only looks overall better, I'd say, but it also runs like a dream. Really, I've been playing some V-Rally, even after I made my video, that tells you how I think with certain games, right? That some games I don't touch after I do a video on, other games I actually keep playing. I've still been playing V-Rally 98, well, it's 99 edition, the N64 one, right? Even though it was pretty clear that objectively the best one is the Dreamcast version, but sometimes you don't want to play the best one, you want to play one that kind of appeals to you for some weird reason. But man, even though I really like that game, and I do think it's actually kind of a better rally game overall, it runs like shit. Like, it runs so bad, especially in the nighttime levels. They are just the worst. Here, it's been nothing but damn near 60 frames. A fucking N64 game running at 60 frames. I mean, like, look, this is so smooth. Look at it. I mean, you're gonna see it at 30 because that's how I'm doing these videos, but take my word for it. Like, it really is buttery smooth. It's fantastic. Playing this at such a high resolution, I feel like I'm just playing a PC game from the time, right? I mean, a lot of PC games kind of just felt like N64 games with better sound quality anyway. Let me turn up the sound just a little bit. Oh, this is going to be such a bitch in editing, though, because it's going to be like, you know, I'm going to... Well, was that a female co-driver? That was cool. Because it's going to be all inconsistent, but it doesn't really matter all that much. That's what normalization is for. You can just right-click on the timeline, normalize it. Future me is going to hate me for this, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so, what about the handling physics? As you can clearly tell, the physics have been simplified, right? And I don't think that's necessarily for the worse. I think the game benefits greatly from its enhanced performance and its simpler physics because it makes for a very fun arcade rally experience despite the damage, which it doesn't really feel like there's any element of strategy, especially with changing tires. It's just a matter of, it's like a quick time event. That's all it is. There's no choice. You'd think that maybe they make it so it doesn't automatically patch up your tires because it's like they want you to maybe decide, is it worth the time penalty or should I keep going? But no, it's always worth the time penalty because when you lose just one of your tires, your car basically can't move, right? It's not like, let's say, in some of the Colin McRae games where even when you burst a tire, you can still kind of keep going at a reasonable pace. It's just that you, oh, fuck, I can't go back and fix something. God damn it. Well, actually, I don't have to, so that's fine. No, here you're just completely fucked. Like, you just stop dead in your tracks, basically. Like, you just have to, this is manual. Yes, okay, good. Even though, honestly, there's no real point in manual, because I just set it to gear 5 and just leave it. Because the gears top out, and that makes sense. That's just how rally cars are, to be fair. They're always geared more towards acceleration. But regardless of that, though. Anyway, what else was I talking about when it comes to the overall enjoyment factor of the game? I would say that the track designs are actually quite good. I think they're detailed enough. They aren't quite as punishing so far from what I've played. They're not quite as punishing as the ones from Top Gear Rally 1. And you know what this game does that is like kind of scarily ahead of its time? So you know how Dirt 4 kind of made a big deal about the fact that it generates tracks in real time? And I think there are other rally games that do that too. Rally is a genre that's very conducive to that, right? Because unlike a lot of more conventional driving games, in Rally, all the courses kind of feel the same anyway. So this game, in 1999 on the N64, it has track generation. Now, it's not real track generation. It just has basically a bucket of parts, and the game dynamically arranges a track from that bucket of parts. But, you know, it does a good enough job. It does unfortunately mean that some of the tracks feel pretty samey, to be honest. A lot of the, like, because you start to recognize these set pieces. You start to recognize these particular corners and dips and banks and all that, and it's just, maybe they should have just had some kind of value applied to the randomization where you would have a greater variety, like, not variety, but let's say they would make a couple of just more basic pieces, like just a left turn, right turn, straight, and have those come in more frequently with only the occasional crest or set piece, more specific little bit of set dressing. Because when you have too many of those standout pieces of set dressing and design, what happens is you start to really, really notice just how repetitive they can be, right? Like, you start to just recognize those particular sections, and it kind of makes everything feel a little artificial. I do believe that the early tracks in the game were handmade, but you could still tell they were handmade using those same preset pieces. I mean, really, I feel like I'm driving a lot of the same road. Which, it's not so much the fault of the developers. I mean, this is an N64 game still with the kart-based limitations, but V-Rally didn't really have this issue. In fact, to be fair, Top Gear Rally 1 had far fewer tracks. So, and again, this game kind of has a theoretical infinite number of tracks. The last cup in the game has only randomly generated tracks, similar to what F-Zero X, I think it was, yeah, F-Zero X on the N64. That's what that game did too. I feel like that game's more nonsensical, futuristic setting kind of let it get away with that though, and you didn't really mind when pieces repeated because, well, actually no, I'm pretty sure that's not how that game works though, because the tracks are much more curve-based. Like, I feel what they do is they just have a line that just randomly decides where to go, and the game figures out how to draw the track based on that line, kind of like how you would in Blender or something like that, using a curve. Whereas here, it's obviously just, look at this, like, this is such a distinct track piece. I have been here before. I've driven on this particular piece of road several times already. And I'm not going to kill them for it or anything, but this is so fucking annoying. I don't get the point of this. It's just a quick time event. It's literally just the racing game equivalent of a quick time event. Need for Speed to Run notwithstanding. But really, you just kind of, okay, well, my tire blew, guess I gotta change it, which that doesn't really add much of an element of strategy. Like, there's no choice. I feel like they added that to make it feel like you have some kind of interesting decision to make. But there is no decision to make. You don't keep racing with a burst tire. You can't move. Like, the car is just stationary at that point. You just have to change your tire. And some people complain about the game's schizophrenic. I really, actually, at that point, I probably should have just taken the whatever. It's schizophrenic sense of realism in the sense that the driving physics are so were those character sprites taken directly from V-Rally, whatever. Because like the car physics are quite unrealistic, but the car damage is very detailed. That I don't really see as that much of an issue because it's not uncommon. There's a lot of racing games with not so realistic handling that have elements of realism. Just like how there are games that do the opposite, like Gran Turismo. I will admit, okay, I've kind of poo-pooed Gran Turismo's handling, but no, the way the cars feel is quite down to earth, very down to earth. The reason why I consider Gran Turismo to not be realistic is because it has no damage. So it's like you got these cars that pretty much handle like they're real, at least according to a lot of professional race car drivers, but they don't react to things like they're real. They don't brake like they're real. And it's like, well, oops, we're not asking for BeamNG Drive fucking deformation. We just want it so that, like, oh, when you hit something and it slows down a bit. I mean, I think they did that in, was it 6 or 5? One of the newer ones added that eventually, but it was like an unlockable thing. I'm not sure, man. I don't have that much experience with Gran Turismo. I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to that, but still, calling itself the ultimate driving simulator, but whatever. I mean, you could argue that this is more of a simulator, except it's not. This game gets the damage down almost to a hyperbolic extent. I mean, like, really? Having your fucking tire burst every 2 seconds? What kind of tires do we have on this car? Are they made of styrofoam or something? It's just like, watch. Look at this. It's gonna go 1, 2, how many seconds until it bursts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, no, it still hasn't burst. It's gonna go boom. Just you watch. It's gonna explode. 1, 2, there it is. And change tire. Like, there's no strategy to it. It's just like, okay, it blew, you gotta change the tire. It's just, I do love the animation, though. It's so funny to look at. Just seeing the car just kind of levitate for a bit and having the tire replaced. It's kind of like how in Gran Turismo, that's what they used to do, where they would just have the car just sit there and everything would be fixed up. It wasn't until I think Gran Turismo 4 that they finally added a real pit crew. Which, like Gran Turismo 4 really did have a lot of really cool on-track details, which, to be fair, V-Rally 2 did half a decade prior, admittedly. Like having, like, spectators on the track and then having to run away from you, stuff like that. Also, going into a menu to fix your tires like that is just kind of weird. Maybe I should turn the music back on just to really get an idea as to, like, what I'm talking about, how fucking bad it is. Like, it's not like the worst music ever written, but I do like how your car constantly has its decals change throughout the events. That's really cool. I haven't done the tutorial race because there's no point. I think the game will want me to do it anyway, but doesn't matter. Hold on, let me check. Is anything else? Oh, fuck, I can't check. Okay, good. I don't think anything else is broken. But let's actually turn the music back up and just see, like, what the hell are we dealing with here? I do like the fact, however, that you can change the steering sensitivity on the fly. I'm a huge fan of that decision. Hold on, let's turn it up a bit. Right? Is this the shitty one with the bass part and that ridiculous vocal? Or is it just that weird drum sound with the fucking Saint Anger sounding drums? Oh my god! What the fuck? That guitar's out of time. Did you hear that? It can't... See, the music just has... Yeah, it skips. What the fuck? What is this? Prog metal or something? Like, it's skipping time. Oh my god. It... Like, don't get me wrong, I love me some chunky metal, but this isn't metal, this is just... There's no personality to this music. I think that's what's going on. Right? There's nothing singable about it. There's no melody necessarily. I mean, there is a melody. There's a melodic line, but nothing feels like something you could sing, right? Like in Top Gear Rally 1. That game's music was phenomenal. Stylistically, it's a little bit aged, but here, I'm not hearing... I don't want to call this music. I mean, I know it's pretty elitist to say, oh, this isn't music. Well, no, it's not that. It's just I don't recognize anything here as aesthetically engaging at all. Like, I don't really want to listen to any of this. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off now because it's just... It doesn't add anything to the experience. Like, with Top Gear Rally 1, like, holy shit, the music is part of the game, you know? You can't play without it. Here, it's just this fucking noise, right? Which is weird because I love drum and bass, but what this game's doing is just, it doesn't make sense to me, man. I don't even know what the fuck they were doing with those vocals, but, well, you couldn't hear them right now, but whatever. Oh no, my clock failed. How will I know what time it is? No, okay. You don't really need your clock, though, because you're just racing as fast as possible. Although I do like... Come on, we can do it. Yes, I do like one thing about this game is when your speedometer fails, and you have to rely on sound and general feel to figure out how to shift. I like that, actually. Very few racing games really require you to listen. I mean, I know a lot of people actually do, in fact, they go off of sound. As in, you notice like some racing game YouTubers, they'll complain that they can't hear anything happening, right? And when they can't hear, they can't shift properly. So they really need to make sure that the game has its audio balanced properly because they actually rely on their hearing to shift instead of looking at the speedometer. I don't have a good habit of doing that. I do in fact look at the speedometer, which I know isn't a good thing because you're supposed to keep your eyes on the road, but I don't know. Sometimes certain games just don't do a good enough job indicating that. That's the problem. A lot of games will sound like I've got plenty more gear to go, but it's like, no, I actually have to shift. And other games will be the opposite, where it'll make it feel like I'm not supposed to be shifting, or like I'm supposed to shift, but like in reality it was an undershift or whatever, like a short shift. It doesn't matter. But other than that, other than like my own stupid little observations, like would I actually recommend you play this game? You know what? I would. It doesn't have that same character as Top Gear Rally 1. And it's not even as good of a rally game on the N64 as something like V-Rally. I think it's better than Rally Championship 2000, however. And I almost want to say it's better than MRC. Sorry, Glenn Plant, but really, I do prefer it. And just the performance is so good. Like, the game is so smooth. And I know that good FPS does not a good game make, necessarily. I mean, why do you think that anyone has ever played most... well, let me think of, like, a game that's done very well for itself despite terrible performance on console. And even... Saints Row 2, I guess, because that game had a really bad PC port, or the original release of GTA 5, right? That game ran like shit on its initial release on the 7th gen systems. It was really an 8th gen game just begging to be on those systems until it eventually was. And now it's like on every other system because they're never going to make it. No, I know, they are working on the next one. Whatever, who cares? I haven't been interested in GTA since I was like 5 years old, but actually that's not true. When I was... when I was 5, it was, 2006? That was actually before GTA 4, but that doesn't matter. That's kind of irrelevant though, but the point is though that this game I think is actually very, very fun. The performance improvement is a nice addition. Even if the game didn't run so good, it would still be pretty fun though, just based on this more simplified handling model, but simplified for the better because I feel like it stylistically makes more sense for the game. The damage, oh, fuck off. How did I place that low? The damage is definitely a love it or hate it kind of thing. I just feel like it's an extra element of challenge. It doesn't necessarily... how would I put it? I wouldn't say that taking it out of the game would greatly improve it, but it also wouldn't make it worse. It's just kind of there, to be honest. I just take it as just a matter of... It's an inevitability, basically. I just accept the fact that my tires are going to blow, my engine's going to go to shit. That's just how the game works. I find that no matter how carefully you drive, nothing changes, right? It's just gonna, like, your tires are fucked. They're rigged from the start. You know, they're never gonna last more than a few freaking miles on a race, you know? That's just how the game seems to work, and when you get used to that, it's pretty fun, because I really do love the way the cars nip around, right? Like, look at this. Just zip, slip and sliding all over the place. It's actually really, really fun. You feel the sense of freedom that you don't really get with a lot of rally games that are a little bit more on the realistic side, and this really isn't on the realistic side. And also, this game has these license tests, which I've heard some people complain about, but honestly, I haven't had to do any yet. Like, maybe I'll have to do some for later events, but so far, the game doesn't make you do them. It's not like Gran Turismo where you have to complete those events for even the lower level events. Well, no, there are some races in the Gran Turismo games that don't require a license, but there's very few of them. For most of them, you're gonna need a license. But here so far, I've just been playing, you know? Just admiring the cool looking car models, and well, they're not the best car models on the system, but they still look pretty good. They were clever to select some cars that were just inherently boxy by design, so that they don't look too out of place. Yeah, I think that's very clever. That's why Driver still looks kind of okay, actually, because they chose a lot of muscle cars that just kind of look like boxes on wheels anyway. That's just what they look like. So the PS1 look doesn't really hinder the, oh, for fuck's sake, it doesn't hinder their ability to depict the cars in the game. I think that's really going to do it for this episode. I'd say that this game is a lot better than I was led to believe based on reviews and general discussion. Not like there's a lot of it. This isn't a super popular game or anything, but still, I was definitely pleasantly surprised by Top Gear Rally 2. Like, it's got problems, but I think I'm overall having a slightly better time than I did with Top Gear Rally 1, even though I really, really love Top Gear Rally 1, to be honest. So anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of Focus on Beat, the video series where I spent about 20 or so minutes playing and talking about a game that I've got some thoughts on, just like this one. This is Top Gear Rally 2 N64, 1999.